The computer says it's you. That's what police officers told Robert Williams as he sat in a jail cell for a crime he didn't commit. On January 9th, 2020, police handcuffed Williams in front of his wife and young daughter outside their home in Farmington Hills, Michigan. Williams had allegedly stolen merchandise from a luxury watch store, information police had collected from the data shared by surveillance footage. But they'd arrested the wrong man. 2 weeks later, after the technology was proved faulty, the case was dropped. Williams later went on to sue the state of Michigan for the mishap. But this was already after he was investigated and spent 30 hours in custody. Stripped of his constitutional rights and embarrassed in front of his family and neighbors. All thanks to unregulated police technology, which studies have shown often misidentifies people of color, and specifically Black men. I'm Sherrell Dorsey, and this is TED Tech. In today's talk, we'll listen in to lawyer and technologist Albert Fox Cahn, who discusses the abuse of surveillance technology today and how simple it will be to regulate it and prevent future mishaps like what happened to Williams.
We all know we're tracked everywhere we go, but as a lawyer, a technologist, and anti-surveillance activist, I'm here to tell you two things. The threat is way worse than you realize, and the solution's simpler than you think. And no, it's not wearing a tinfoil hat. You may know that advertisers can record every link you click and every place you've been, but you may not realize the government can buy that data too. If the NYPD wants to track a BLM protest, they can buy the data. If Texas wants to watch an abortion clinic, they can buy the data. And when the IRS wants to know if your Florida company is really doing work in California, they don't need to buy the data. They already did. Millions of our location records. And what the government can't buy, it can take by force, crudely wielding our 18th century Constitution against 21st century technology. With a geofence warrant, companies are forced to hand over our location data, not for one person, but everyone, every single user in a geographic area, whether a single room or an entire city. In one Virginia case, police cast a digital dragnet far beyond the crime scene, forcing Google to identify everyone nearby, even those at a church, even though they weren't even suspects. It's not only Orwellian, it's bad policing. Search widely enough and someone's movements will always look suspicious. Like an Arizona man, wrongly arrested for a murder miles away simply because someone was logged into his Google account. Or a Florida man connected to a crime scene for biking around the neighborhood. Look, I don't know about you, but I find it hard enough to work up the energy to work out without worrying that my Fitbit is going to land me in jail. Technology makes tracking possible, but it's our laws that give it force, posing a deeply discriminatory danger to BIPOC communities, LGBTQ individuals, and undocumented families. We can't continue to watch officers shred the Fourth Amendment safeguards against search and seizure. We can't wait for the Supreme Court to act. We must ban geofence warrants and other surveillance abuses today. For years, privacy advocates have fought how companies collect our data, and we failed. Maybe we should have tried the tinfoil hats after all. But we can stop mass surveillance if we change the problem we're trying to fix, shifting our focus from how companies collect our data to how governments abuse it. In America, our default rule is that every smartphone, computer, and internet-enabled toaster oven is a police tool in the making. Officers can seize our devices and wiretap Alexa, but they don't control the contours of our Constitution. It's our decision, our democratic decision, whether our data can be used for undemocratic ends. We can create new firewalls to protect our information, not computer code, but legal codes that shield us from having our data used against us in a court of law. Legal firewalls are already becoming a reality in New York. At the pandemic's height, we feared how police and ICE might misuse data from new contact tracing apps that monitor everyone nearby. So we worked with the New York Civil Liberties Unions, doctors, grassroots organizers to create the first ban on police access to contact tracing data in the country. No one should fear that they'll be arrested because of public health data, but that remains a risk in 49 states. Legal firewalls let us have our technology and our Constitution too, enabling innovation by outlawing oppression. We see glimmers of Beltway bipartisanship, but state and local governments are our brightest hope. That's because it can take millions of people to enact a national statute, but just a handful of committed activists can make changes in their community. And we already see a deluge of state and local protections, including a bill I helped write, New York's first in the nation ban on geofence warrants. Thank you. And even some courts agree. Just last month, a federal judge struck down that sprawling Virginia geofence, calling on state lawmakers to enact bills like my own. As a teenage protester, NYPD camcorders shoved in my face, I saw surveillance as a threat, and people thought my fears were something out of science fiction. Today, they increasingly think that surveillance is inevitable and that privacy is the fantasy. But I'm actually more optimistic than ever. It had to get this bad for the denial to break and for the public to act. I know we can push back that looming dystopia. I know we can protect everything that technology might make possible tomorrow, but only if we ban surveillance abuses today. Thank you.
Legal firewalls sound great in theory, but there's no guarantee this gets applied to all tech and surveillance. First, we have to agree to what the definition of surveillance actually means. Dr. Cathy O'Neill's book, Weapons of Mass Destruction, dives deep into this issue of how technology decides our fates by way of opaque algorithms. While facial recognition technology and sensors can track people and movement, what we listen to, how many packages we have delivered via Amazon, all the way down to our healthcare data, all of it is at risk for being discovered, hacked, exploited, and abused by authorities. Albert Fox Cahn offers the seeds of a solution with firewalls and the banning of geofence location, but stops there. In the age of digitization and big data setting the rules for engagement, there's virtually no privacy unless you're off the grid. As he pointed out in his talk, our laws and tech have not kept pace with one another. And regulation, as many technologists say, slows down progress. But until we are willing to completely unplug, we will have to be vigilant about reducing surveillance. And regulation is one clear way to do it. We know the stakes are high, so maybe that speed cost is worth it. TED Tech is part of the TED Audio Collective. This episode was produced by Isabel Carter, who also wrote it with me, Sherrell Dorsey. Our editor is Jimmy Gutierrez, and the show is fact-checked by Mateus Salas. Special thanks to Farah DeGrange for her support as a project manager. I'm Sherrell Dorsey. Let's keep digging into the future. Join me next week for more.